Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're focusing on something that affects a staggering number of people. We're talking over 200 million globally at any one time. The WHO even calls it a neglected tropical disease. And it all comes down to an intense, just maddening itch.
We are diving deep into scabies. And for a lot of people, that word, it sounds like something from a history book. Maybe a minor inconvenience.
Exactly. And our mission today is to show you why it's so much more than a nuisance. It's a massive global health threat with this really fascinating, almost sneaky biological mechanism.
Right.
We're going to unpack the parasite's life cycle. We'll look at its most dangerous form, and then we're going to use some recent clinical data to compare the two main treatments. That's topical permethrin and oral ivermectin.
And if there's one thing you take away before we even start, it should be this. Scabies is caused by a mite. Sarcoptes scabiei, and it spreads through skin-to-skin contact.
So it has nothing to do with hygiene?
Nothing at all. It's not about being clean or dirty. It's about close human contact. And if you understand that, how social this parasite is, then you start to see why getting rid of it is so incredibly difficult.
Okay, let's get into the biology of it. It all starts with the female mite. She's tiny, right? Like less than half a millimeter.
Yeah, about 0.4 millimeters. And once she's on a host, a human, she gets right to work. She needs to burrow.
She's actually invading the skin.
Oh, absolutely. The fertilized female is, well, she's meticulous. She literally uses her mouth parts and legs to chew a tiny tunnel into the very outermost layer of your skin.
Wait, the outermost layer, what do you mean?
What we call the stratum corneum.
So we're talking about the very top layer, the dead skin cells that are always flaking off.
That's it. It's an incredibly efficient operation. She lives in that little tunnel for 1 to 2 months, and her entire life is just dedicated to reproduction.
So she's just laying eggs in there?
2 to 4 eggs a day. Every day. And as she does, she keeps extending the tunnel, and she deposits these tiny fecal pellets. They're called scabiei. So she's basically walling herself into a tunnel of her own. Well, her own offspring and waste.
Okay, so if she's chewing and burrowing and leaving waste in my skin, that has to be what causes the insane itch people talk about, the physical invasion.
And this is where it gets so interesting. This is the crucial biological insight. The intense itching, which by the way classically gets much, much worse at night, we call it nocturnal pruritus, is actually not caused by the mite burrowing.
It's not. Then what is it?
It's a delayed allergic reaction.
Yeah.
It's your own body's hypersensitivity to the mites, to their eggs, and especially to those fecal pellets they leave behind.
So my body is reacting to mite poop, not the mite itself.
Primarily, yes. And that allergic mechanism has a huge practical implication for you.
Which is?
If it's your very first time getting scabies, your body takes 4 to 6 weeks to build up that allergic response. For that whole month and a half, you feel completely fine.
But you're already contagious.
You are fully contagious. You're spreading it before you even know you have it.
Wow. That explains so much why it just rips through a household or, a nursing home.
Precisely. Now, if you've had it before, your immune system is already pre-sensitized. It remembers those proteins. So the second time, symptoms can pop up in just 1 to 4 days.
So it's your body's memory, not the number of mites you have initially.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say a doctor finally suspects it. What does common scabies actually look like?
Well, the tricky part is how diverse it can look. That's why it gets missed so often. You'll see a generalized rash, some redness, little raised bumps. But the signature sign, if you can find it, is the burrow itself.
A little wavy line.
A tiny, wavy, grayish line. And you find them in very predictable, warm places on the body. The webs between your fingers, wrists, armpits, the belt line, genitalia.
And you mentioned it looks different on kids.
It does. With infants and young children, the rash can be much more widespread. It often hits places you wouldn't see in an adult.
Like where?
The palms of their hands, the soles of their feet, ankles, even their scalp and face. That's a huge clue for pediatricians.
You can see why it's so hard to diagnose. I mean, a generalized rash could be anything. Eczema, psoriasis, some kind of dermatitis.
Right, and that's the diagnostic challenge. It's usually a clinical diagnosis based on suspicion.
Yeah.
You can do a skin scraping to look for the mite under a microscope.
Boy.
But the sensitivity is really low. You could easily miss the 1 or 2 mites in the sample and get a false negative. It doesn't rule it out.
Which brings us to the really scary version, crusted scabies. Sometimes called Norwegian scabies.
It's a profound public health emergency when it happens. Crusted scabies is it's incredibly severe and unbelievably contagious.
How contagious are we talking?
Well, think about it like this. A person with common scabies might have, say, 10 to 15 mites on their entire body.
Okay.
Someone with crusted scabies can harbor hundreds, thousands, even millions of mites.
Millions? How is that even possible? What allows them to just explode like that?
The skin undergoes this massive change called hyperkeratosis. It gets super thick, crusted, and scaly. This usually happens in people with compromised immune systems, the elderly, people on certain medications, or with neurological issues.
So their immune system just can't fight back?
Exactly. It can't control the mite population, and the skin basically becomes this perfect breeding ground.
And what's the detail that makes this a perfect storm for outbreaks in, say, a hospital?
The itch.
It's worse.
It's often less pronounced,
Sure.
or even completely absent.
No itch, but that's the defining symptom.
Right, so because that classic symptom is missing, these incredibly infectious patients are misdiagnosed for weeks, even months. People think it's just severe psoriasis or eczema, and all that time they're shedding skin crusts loaded with millions of mites.
That is terrifying. An invisible, non-itchy, highly contagious form. Okay, so how do we fight this? Let's turn to the treatments.
So we're really looking at the two main players, topical 5% permethrin cream and oral ivermectin, which is a pill.
And the study we're looking at compared them head-to-head in an emergency room setting. What was the top-line result?
The main finding was that there was actually no statistically significant difference between the two.
Really?
Yeah, their effectiveness, at least at the 7-day and 14-day marks, looked pretty much the same.
Okay, so let's break them down then, because how you use them is totally different. Let's start with the cream, permethrin.
Permethrin is a synthetic chemical that's basically a neurotoxin for the mite. It messes with their nervous system and causes paralysis and death. It's generally very safe, pretty affordable, and it's the go-to for pregnant women and very young kids.
So how do you apply it correctly?
And this is the biggest challenge. It's a 5% cream, and you must cover your entire body from the neck down, every single fold, every crevice.
Whole body.
The whole body. And you leave it on for 8 to 14 hours before you wash it off. But, and this is critical, it doesn't kill the eggs. So you have to repeat the whole process 7 to 14 days later to kill the mites that have hatched in the meantime. And that's where people often fail, that second dose.
Right, I can imagine it's a huge hassle. What about the other option, the pill? Ivermectin.
Ivermectin is just so convenient. It's an oral antiparasitic. It works differently, targets their nerve and muscle cells, paralyzes them. But just like permethrin, it doesn't kill the eggs, so you take one dose and then a second dose a week later.
The convenience factor must be a game changer.
It is. It's why the WHO considers it an essential medicine and uses it for mass drug administrations. It's just so much easier to get a whole village to take a pill than to apply a cream correctly.
But there are some limitations, right?
Yes. Generally not recommended for pregnant women or for children who weigh less than 15 kilograms. So there's a bit of a trade-off there between convenience and who can safely take it.
Now, this is where the research gets really interesting for me, the success rate. You always hear these drugs are like 90+% effective. What did this real-world study find?
Right, the literature. It often reports these amazing success rates, up to 98%. But this study found that the efficacy for both drugs was significantly lower than expected.
How much lower?
So low that nearly 1 in 4 patients, 23.7%, needed a completely different therapy after 2 full courses of their first drug failed.
Wow. 1 in 4 people failed treatment. That's a massive number.
It's a substantial failure rate. It tells you that what happens in the lab is very different from what happens in a busy emergency room with a real patient.
So what's driving that failure? Is it drug resistance?
That's part of the picture, but the researchers pointed to more human factors. First, poor patient adherence.
Not using the cream right.
Not using the cream right, not covering every spot, or just forgetting to do that critical second dose a week later. But maybe even more important was the second point.
Which was?
A lack of simultaneous treatment for the whole household.
Ah, so you treat yourself, but your partner or kids are still infected.
Exactly. You get treated, you go home, and you get reinfested that very same night from your bed or from a family member who's still in that asymptomatic phase. You're just stuck in a loop.
It makes perfect sense. The whole system has to be treated, not just the individual.
Which is why, for really severe cases like crusted scabies, where you absolutely cannot afford to fail, some are now suggesting a combined treatment.
So you'd use both the cream and the pill at the same time?
You'd hit it with everything you've got.
Okay, let's talk about why failure is so dangerous. The complications. This is where it goes from just an itchy rash to something life-threatening.
It is. The constant, intense scratching breaks the skin. And that broken skin barrier is a perfect gateway for bacteria.
What kind of bacteria?
Usually Staphylococcus or Streptococcus. The most common secondary infection is impetigo. Yeah, those crusty skin sores.
So the mite creates the wound and the bacteria just move in. How does that lead to something like kidney damage?
This is the chain reaction that makes scabies an NTD. In many parts of the world, especially tropical, resource-poor areas, those secondary strep infections can lead to something called acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis.
That's a serious kidney disease.
A very serious kidney disease.
Yeah.
And there's also growing evidence linking these infections to rheumatic heart disease.
So a tiny mite is, indirectly, causing chronic kidney failure and heart disease on a global scale.
That is the critical takeaway. There's evidence that chronic kidney damage sticks around in up to 10% of children who've had scabies in these settings. It's a silent epidemic of major systemic damage.
So given how high the stakes are, what are the absolute must-do steps for prevention?
Number one is synchronized treatment. You must treat all close contacts, the whole household, sexual partners, at the exact same time. If you stagger it, the mites just ping-pong back and forth.
Because of that long asymptomatic window.
Exactly. Someone might be spreading it for a month before they even start to itch.
And what about the environment? Do you need to fumigate your house?
Thankfully, no. The mites can't survive for more than about 2 or 3 days off of a human host, so the environmental cleaning is manageable.
What does that entail?
You wash all clothing, towels, and bedding that were used in the last 3 days in hot soapy water, and then dry them on high heat. For things you can't wash, like a big coat or a stuffed animal,
Yeah.
just seal them in a plastic bag for 3 to 7 days. Mites will starve. It's that simple.
That's very clear. Okay, so on a global scale, when a whole community is affected,
That's where public health strategy comes in. The WHO recommends mass drug administration, or MDA. If a community has a prevalence of 10% or more, they go in and treat everyone,
with the pills.
usually with 2 doses of oral ivermectin.
Yeah. It's highly effective at knocking down the prevalence of the mites, which then reduces all these dangerous secondary bacterial infections.
So when we put this all together, the big picture is that scabies is so stealthy because of that long, silent transmission phase. And it's not the bug biting you that makes you itch. It's your own body's allergic reaction weeks later.
That makes diagnosis hard, and it makes coordinated, synchronized treatment absolutely essential. You have to break the entire cycle.
You have to. But, it leaves you with this kind of provocative thought. Given that real-world failure rates are much higher than we think, almost 1 in 4, and that this super contagious crusted form often presents with no itch at all.
So it's being missed?
It's being misdiagnosed as eczema or psoriasis for months, so it makes you wonder how much hidden, undiagnosed scabies transmission is out there, silently fueling huge public health crises like chronic kidney disease across the globe, because it only takes one surviving mite to start the whole thing over again.
A really sobering thought. The true cost of a parasite we think we understand. You have to break the cycle completely. Thank you for diving deep with us today.